You and Ted have carried the burden on this one, I know. So.
Well, I am waiting for Adam to show up. That'll be good.
Yeah.
He emailed me this week and he said he was conscious that this was coming up. So.
Oh, good.
Oops.
Yes, it's not so pleasant. How's John doing today?
Doing well. It's I'm appreciating Zoom even more today when I look out the window.
Exactly. Yeah. I still have to drive to work after this, so.
Oh.
Well, I hear that the 401 is lots of fun around Quiddy West this morning.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah,
I'm
apparently several transports decided to have a little dance, I guess.
Oh, very good. What else is new?
Yep.
Yeah, I always used Highway 2 to Napanee just to avoid that hassle.
Yes.
Okay. Rosie, do you think we have a chance of getting back on the board?
Oh, David, I'm voting for you. I really hope so. But it is wonderful to have lots of great candidates.
That's what I'm thinking.
There were actually some more people who said, "Do you have enough candidates?" And they would have put their name forward if there weren't any.
And looking through last year's minutes, it was acclamation across the board. So yeah, people coming out of the woodwork because.
Oh, sorry, I gotta let a whole bunch of people in. Adam Young is here.
Yay!
Andrew.
Let's see here. Okay.
Morning.
Okay.
Morning, Andrew.
Morning.
Okay.
Morning.
Morning, Paul.
So we have quorum.
Perfect.
Quorum today is 18. So according to our bylaws, we need to have 1/3 of our members here. So we have 54 members and we have more than 18 here. So
You will see Ted Shu up twice. He's recording off of one computer and live action off of the other, just to make it easier for our records, in case anybody's wondering about that. Ted will continue to let people in. Oh, I see we're on page 2 of people. Wow. All righty. Maybe another minute. I hope all are well. I think we had no choice but to do this by Zoom, and given the weather, we chose right. So that's very good. Are you seeing much more action there, Ted?
just submitting one more person, Andrew Kular.
Okay. Well,
We'll probably get started, I guess.
yeah, I was just gonna say, why don't we get going? So welcome everyone to the 2020 fiscal year annual general meeting. Our fiscal year ends at the end of September each year, and then it takes us a while to get everything in place for doing the AGM. So here we are, and there'll be more about AGM timing as we progress. So for those that are, well, this is our first time doing it virtually, so bear with us if there are any technical hiccups behind the scenes. I'd say Rosie and Ted have been doing a stellar job on the financials and on the technical side. Ted will be providing a link in the chat function to do the online voting for the new board members. And that will come along closer to that event. Ted informed me that if he did it now, anybody joining afterwards wouldn't see it. So we will do that when the time is right. So today we've got, hopefully everybody has had a chance to see the agenda, and we will run through it. It's usually a fairly quick process, the AGM, and we can let everybody get on with their day. But as we repeat every year, it is an essential function, both to keep us all accountable and to provide new blood when people want to move on to other responsibilities as we have today. So first off is acceptance of the agenda. Does anybody have any questions, comments about the agenda? One comment I would like to make, and we hope everybody has seen the latest version. There was an addition to the slate of candidates, Chiari, Ghoni, Bulama. Good morning, Ghoni. We worked together briefly on the Cement 2020 project many moons ago. Anyway.
Yes, we did.
His nomination got, or his application got lost in our spam. and we only just found it yesterday, actually. So apologies for that. Thank you for your interest, and we managed to rectify that problem. So that's the only change, substantive change from the version that went out yesterday versus previous versions of the proposed agenda. So I'm hearing no objections. Would anybody care to move that we accept the agenda?
Yeah, I'll move, David.
All right, that would be Harriet. And anybody else?
I'll second.
Thank you, Pavel. All right. Now we move on to the minutes from the previous year. They were included in the package. So hopefully everybody has had a brief glance at least. So as per protocol, are there any issues, concerns with the minutes as captured for last year?
And if anybody wants to see it, I uploaded it to the chat, the PDF file.
And as I said, it did go out in the package as well. Okay, well, I'm hearing no objections to the previous minutes, and there are a couple things in there that we will address this year. So would anybody like to move acceptance of the minutes from the 2019 fiscal year? John, thank you very much. And Rosie will second. All right, moving right along. So I guess it's me now. I had the opportunity to present this last year as well. Unfortunately, Shannon was sick, so this is my first go at truly having to do it. So I have a script here I will read as far as my comments for the President's report this year. First off, again, thank you for everyone for attending today and our first virtual AGM. And thank you everybody for your continuing support by attending meetings, by being a member over the last year. Our last AGM was the second last meeting that we held in a physical location. We had one in March, and then we went virtual because of COVID. And COVID wasn't even announced as COVID-19 until after our AGM last year in February. So a lot has changed. Since April, we've been doing these meetings through Zoom. And I want to do a shout out to Ted for taking up that technical responsibility as he is continuing to do today. For those who attended that meeting, we did get Zoom bombed once and have learned our lesson, as I think the world has, because now everybody has to go through a waiting room. So we continue to adjust and adapt. And to that, I wanted to say that, as with everything, there are pros and cons to change. Being virtual has had a specific advantage in that we can now cast our net wider as far as speakers for our monthly meetings. And to that, we did reach out to the Pembina Institute, who were headquartered in Alberta, and they participated in our June meeting. It turned out the speakers were from Toronto and Ottawa, but would we have reached out if we thought it was going to be an in-person meeting? Probably not. Unfortunately, the downside is that we're doing this today virtually, and we've done all our meetings, since April virtually. And there is that social dynamic which is missing, which I'm sure everybody attending today misses, the chance for those offside conversations and little groups that spring up before and after the live meetings. So anyway, hopefully we will get back to that sooner as opposed to later. As far as what we've done the past year, I want to just highlight a few speakers that sort of stood out. As I mentioned, the Pembina Institute was quite informative, as was the Environmental Defense Fund discussion about plastics. We tried our hand at a virtual roundtable with members that are on the call today. about the electric vehicle landscape. And we had a perennial favorite in that Rob Cumming from Lafarge spoke about their current status on reducing GHG emissions in the cement industry. As much as anything, 2020 has allowed us to do an awful lot of work as a board behind the scenes. And I wanted to highlight a few of those things just to give the broader membership an idea of what we're doing on your behalf. So Shannon and I participated in the community engagement sessions for the Kingston Climate Leadership Plan on the mitigation technical team. This involved previewing documents set out by the city and participation in 2 formal sessions over the summer and fall of last year. There are more sessions planned for 2021, and this is part of the city's I guess, follow up to the climate action plan that's been around for a while. We've also participated in a second city initiative in that we were asked to review a draft version of the home energy retrofit program documentation. This was done later last fall in preparation of that document going to City Council. And it was, what, a week-ish ago that that got approved by Council. And so we'll be rolling out, and certainly I think Switch will be playing a role in that moving forward. The third time that the city has gotten in touch with us was last summer. They were interested in the Switch perspective on the building application for the Unity Road Spa on Battersea Road. And in particular, we focused on the sustainability aspects and the technical areas within that application, because obviously that is where we feel we have strength to bring to the table. So in about 2 weeks in August, we developed a review metric for all the technologies that were proposed and provided feedback on that. And it's quite an impressive list of things that they're looking at: rooftop solar, geothermal, gray water recovery, and building envelope efficiency for the new builds that will be happening. So as an integration project, it was quite impressive. Switch was also asked to be part of the Queen's University Sustainability Working Group. And to that, we thank Pavel Graymason for stepping up and participating on that, and amongst all his other responsibilities. We won't have, at least in the short term, we won't have direct participation because Pavel will be leaving the board this year, but still a member of Switch, I'm sure. So what I'd like to close out with is an item that was in last year's AGM discussion, was our plan for 2020 to do a conference or some mini conference on topics such as home electrification. That was one that sprung up over the year. However, we decided to wait, partly because of all the initiatives that we were asked to be involved with, and partly we were hoping we could get back to where we could do it live. The Smart Energy Kingston conference certainly has come in and filled a void as far as energy conferences in Kingston. So that was great to see. That said, Switch certainly hopes to be back in the fray on conferences at some point. At this point, I'd like to end off with thanks to the other members of the board on behalf of myself. And I'm hoping and I'm sure on behalf of the membership at large, it has certainly been a pleasure being your president and board chair this past year. And what really struck me was the flexible nature of the board, which really speaks to the deep talents that we have currently on the board. Whenever something would arise, the expertise would flow to the surface. And these ever-changing self-forming subgroups would would form and deliver, and it was certainly a pleasure to be part of all of that. It certainly speaks to the deep commitment that the board and the members at large have to the problems of sustainability. So with that, to Ted, Ian, Shannon, and Darko, who will be returning this year, I certainly wish you luck on helping to guide the board over the next period. I'd like certainly to give Ted another shout out for the behind the scenes work today. There's been a lot of logistics and learning, I'm assuming, on making sure that this will run smoothly in a virtual manner. Rosie and I are up for re-election, and given the slate of candidates we have this year, we'll see where that lands. And Rosie, again, will shout out as far as having done an exceptional job as treasurer, and she's up next on the docket. Thanks to Tatiana Zaremba for her continuing administrative support. And now I'd like to turn to the board members who won't be coming back. Eric Aucoin has been our student director and has certainly been a voice for what's going on in the Queen's community. He was instrumental in us trying to get in front of the Queen's community last fall during their orientation week, which was obviously their first virtual version as well. So we thank Eric, and good luck with winding down your academic work at the moment. Pavel Gray Mason will also not be returning. When he started, he was the director at Sustainable Kingston, and then got the bug and moved to doing a PhD at Queen's. He also teaches at St. Lawrence and has a young family. So no wonder you want to take a break from yet one more ball to juggle. So good luck with all of that. Finally, we would all like to thank Harriet Waterman for 15 years of service on the switchboard. I've known Harriet for over a decade, both with her role at IRAP and, excuse me, from when I started at Switch meetings. Harriet always has been passionate about tangible change towards sustainability, and I know has been a driver on many of the Switch initiatives over the years. Whether it was the many conferences we did from like 2013 to 2017, or a lot of the earlier funding initiatives that Switch rolled out in the earlier days of sustainable energy. I'd say Harriet, along with Ted and Shannon, are the brain trust of this organization. She said she's only an email away, but we will certainly miss her on the board and on a day-to-day basis with the support she has provided. So to that, I am going to call up my screen so I can see what I'm doing. So Harriet, we would like to present you with a mug. We certainly hope we got the number right. Is it 15 years?
I think it is, but
Okay.
yeah.
If not, we can always remake it. But
Oh, isn't that gorgeous? Thank you, Dave.
I pulled behind the scenes, and 15 seemed to be the consensus. I tried for green, but they didn't have green, so yellow is as close as we could get. So
Can you pass it through the computer, please?
I was just going to say we'll do some sort of real handoff at some point. So
With a double mask on.
for your time on the board, and we know you will be actively involved, because I know you and Andrew are still planning things behind the scenes. So with that, I will end my president's report for this year, and I will pass it over to Rosie for the treasurer's report.
Thanks, David. So I'll present a little bit about the treasurer's experience this year, and then we also have Adam Young from our accounting firm who will speak to the financials. Thanks for joining us, Adam. So Ted is just setting up my my presentation here, just a couple of slides to give you an idea of what the year has looked like and a couple of speaking points. So yeah, thanks, Ted. Next slide, please. So it's always interesting to compare how things went this year compared with last year. And at the present time, we have only membership revenue. So this is what you see is what you get. The blue bars are from the previous fiscal. And I remind you that this fiscal we're talking about right now ran from October 2019 to September 30th, 2020. And just so everyone understands, I've been treasurer since February 2020, so I'm most familiar with the most recent 6 months. But I went back and looked at the membership revenue coming in. So where you see the blue bars being taller than the red bars, you think, what happened? So if you look at October, well, what I can tell you is we had 2 memberships that that came in actually early. So they ended up in the previous fiscal year instead of in October 2019. So that's the blue bar at the very left side there. In November, we had a couple of memberships that were not renewed this year. So that there's an impact there. And then we also had one corporate membership. And if you recall, corporate memberships are $1,000, individual memberships are $50. All of our members are very important and contribute very much to Switch. The financial impact is mostly seen from the corporate members. So we did have a corporate member that ceased or that skipped a year, in fact. And then if you look at May, why is that bar so much higher? We had a corporate member that actually delayed until September to renew, but that did fall in the same fiscal year. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea. I just want to really give a word of appreciation to all our members who did renew this year. That's been encouraging for us, and as David has said, we've been very busy working for the membership, and really appreciate the financial contributions too. Next slide. So a few updates here. We continue with lean operations. We don't have a premises. We don't have a monthly lease. We selected a notice to reader instead of an audit. And we minimized our bookkeeping costs in fiscal 2019-2020. We hope to actually eliminate them in this present fiscal year. Not having a monthly lease gave us some savings, and we are spending those mostly on the fees for our part-time administrative contractor, whose work we very much appreciate. I talked a bit about the memberships, and I should just have said that in September 2020, we did get a new corporate membership, so that was a nice boost. You can see from the financials that we continue to spend down the kind of the extra money that came in when we ran the conference in 2017 on managing energy. But with one thing and another, we haven't had another big event like that. So that's why our bank balance gradually declines. We did invest in a 10K GIC in 2019, and that renewed in 2020. There's a small amount of interest associated with that, and notionally that defrays the actual cost of student memberships. So we're able to maintain student memberships at $15. I'd mention a couple of COVID impacts. So there were some members that didn't renew subsequent to the onset of COVID. And as has been mentioned, there were significant impacts to our programming, which we have been able to bridge to a very laudable degree by using electronic and virtual means. And then a change of fiscal year. So this is kind of falling off the bottom of the slide, my fault. Last AGM, we discussed, would we change the fiscal year? Because the weather can be really bad when we have been having our AGM in February. And sure enough, again today, horrible weather. But wonderful that we were meeting here, 36 members strong by Zoom. So that the knowledge that we would have to meet by Zoom this year diminished the urgency of changing the fiscal year end. If we do decide to go ahead with that change, that will be put in motion right after the present fiscal year ends at September 30th, 2021. I think that's it. There's another slide, is there? Oh yeah, there's another slide. Yeah, this is a really important slide too. So as mentioned, some of the revenue streams that we've been able to have in the past, they're just not possible right now. So here's a blue sky opportunity. I invite the members to share their thoughts here or later for what are additional revenue streams that this organization can be considering. I welcome any questions or any ideas.
Thank you, Rosie. One point on the finances, something that is outside of the fiscal year that we're talking about, but I will bring up. Gosh, was it before or after Christmas? I don't even remember. It was just after Christmas. Rosie Darko and I put in an Ontario Trillium Fund application for about $30,000 to support retooling of the board, getting some insight on how we maybe need to operate in the new pandemic reality, and also some funding for some tangible deliverables to the membership. But obviously most of that money goes out the door to acquire services. So it really doesn't impact our bottom line. It's more of a flow through. But again, something else as we look to try and figure out how to be sustainable ourselves going forward. And I see Harriet has a hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to note to everybody what an amazing job Rosie has done. The reason our expenses are going down is because she took on the role of what we used to pay for the bookkeeper. And she set up a whole system that will be useful in years to come for Switch internally that we can give to the accountants. So she did an awful lot of work on that and is to be congratulated.
Okay.
David, I just had a quick comment. So two things. That's really great to hear you apply to the Trillium Fund. There are actually quite a lot of initiatives coming out at the moment to support nonprofits and charities and big investments. So Scotia and TELUS have each developed about $100 million initiatives to support nonprofits and charities. The province is coming out with something, I think it's called the Community Build Fund. We should learn more about it in like 3 or 2 weeks or so. And then the city of Kingston is developing its own $1 million recovery fund, of which 200,000 is for nonprofits. So hopeful that by Q2 or end of Q1, we have more insight into what those new buckets are. And I'd be happy to volunteer to help Switch figure out like what can they do and how do they want to approach that. The second point, though, that's maybe related to all of that is our hospitality sector in Kingston has been like catastrophically hit. And we've never, like throughout the years at Switch, like we've never looked at like hotels and tourism operators and buses and trolleys as end users of energy, right? Or fuels or what have you. So, I mean, maybe that's a very, like a sliver, but like a very niche project that we could work on because that industry, that hospitality industry really needs all the help it can get. And honestly, like saving them like a couple $100 or a couple $1,000 on their energy bills actually probably pays one of their staff. It's just the nature of cash flow in that community. So those are 2 points. And thank you very much, Rosie, for that presentation and for being flexible and creative in a pretty tough time to be a treasurer.
Any other comments on that? If not, and those with more experience than me, we don't have to approve that. That will get approved when we approve the meeting minutes, I'm assuming.
Well, we'll have, after the presentation from Adam, we'll just approve the financial statements. Or
Alrighty.
receive the financial statements and approve the treasurer's report. Yeah.
In that case, Adam, we know you're on there. I see you. Yes. So we'll get Ted. You'll get the notice to reader statement up.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, David. I will just provide a very brief highlight of the financial statements. I think Rosie's already covered the main points in her treasurer's report. Just to be clear on the agenda, we are on number 5, and we are accepting the report. I might suggest that we refer to it as the accountant's report as opposed to the auditor's report. We are engaged to prepare compilation level financial statements, so these are not audited numbers. As Rosie had already indicated in her treasurer's report. So if we look at the pardon me, compiled financial statements, they're fairly slim. The notice to reader report is on the first page. It's identical to what you've seen before. If you can flip down to the next page for me, please, David. Or Ted, whoever's controlling.
Yeah, it's me.
Thank you. So looking at the fiscal year ended September 30th, 2020, at the end of day, September 30th of 2020, the organization had about $9,300 in cash in the bank. GIC that Rosie had already mentioned, $10,000. It's 1-year GIC maturing June 30th of 2021. You're making a whopping 0.9% on the GIC. You've got a little bit in the way of accounts payable and accrued liabilities, and then to sum it all off, the unrestricted net assets of the organization. So this is the excess of your assets over your liabilities is just under $16,000. And that is in comparison to about 26,000 at the end of the previous year. So you're winnowing away at the accumulated surplus of the organization. The $16,000 number, to put it in context, still gets you about half a year's worth of your regular operating expenses. So you know, it's getting leaner, but it is still by no means too skinny, right? You've got some powder in your pocket there. If you can scroll down to the next page for me. Rosie had already summarized the month-by-month revenue, and what you're seeing now in the top section is the annual summary. So the membership revenue went from approximately 12,000 down to just over 6,000, 12 months versus 12 months. The expenses stayed relatively similar. So the administrative services, professional fees, including ourselves, and fees paid to the bookkeeper, website maintenance, and insurance. To echo Rosie's point, the organization is fairly lean. When you look at those expenses, there are not a whole lot of fixed expenditures in there. You are not carrying rent, you are not carrying external debt. You know, the organization, I think, is fairly flexible from a financial perspective, and I think you're doing a good job at managing your burn rate. To also highlight Rosie's point, looking for additional sources of revenue is good, because with the infrastructure you have, those additional revenue dollars will basically fall to your bottom line without affecting or requiring you to increase your overhead capacity. So the organization in 2020, the revenues were lower than the expenses by about $10,000. That's prompting the reduction in your net assets. and then you've got about 16,000 in net assets left. I would also mention the change in methodology that the organization has adopted in 2020 for transaction capture and summary. Rosie is maintaining the records now herself, as opposed to going through an external bookkeeper. As part of that process, Rosie and I worked through some of the balances that were hanging on in the prior accounting system in terms of receivables. And Rosie did quite an in-depth analysis of where those receivables were from and collectability and so forth. In the end, the books have now been cleaned up. So some of those amounts that had been carrying on through previous years, we've rectified, and that is why you are seeing the item at the bottom of the sheet called correction of prior period error. And if you wanted to read note 2, it provides glorious levels of detail on the manner in which the receivables and revenues have been cleaned up. Those were my points, David. I'm not sure if you wanted to proceed with the vote, or if you wanted to open everything up for questions. I'll leave that one to you. I'm happy to do whatever.
I think we should certainly have see if there are any questions. I'll preface it with, the common theme today from Rosie and others is that we need new revenue streams. As you can see, we are running a very lean ship as far as operating. Other than Tatiana, as far as some min support, everybody else is volunteers, so we can't get any leaner on that front. So revenue is where we need to go. Again, echoing Rosie, the previous conferences that we ran would pay for the executive director and give us enough extra to get to the next conference to do the cycle all over again. And since we have not been doing those larger scale conferences when the previous executive director moved on to other opportunities, we've been doing this lean model and a more grassroots model. But obviously we need some infusion of cash, and we are more than open to suggestions on how to do that within the confines of a volunteer board and those constraints. So anyway, any questions?
David, Ellen has a couple of questions in the chat.
Oh, thank you. Helen, yes, please.
Yes, my questions are in the chat. The first one was a preemptive response to what you just said about increasing revenues, and I know that the $50 individual membership fee was in fact a giant reduction from percentage-wise from what it had been, but yet I find it, I consider it to be appropriately modest, and I hope it did attract more members. But I think that at this time, as with many other organizations in the same position, I just think it might be time to consider an increase in that individual membership fee. And I remember in last year's meeting, there was a suggestion that we look into possible, what's it called? Breaking your monthly payments, breaking your annual membership fee into automated monthly debits to switch. But I don't think I haven't read anything further. It was a suggestion last year. Right. That's one comment. A small comment on the GIC. Alan mentioned 0.9%. It certainly looks like 1.5%, but I don't care what the answer to that is. And my other question was why our necessary directors, business and directors insurance increased so much. That again, percentage-wise, that's from 1,100 to 14,500 is a steep jump in 1 year. So those were my questions. Thank you.
Okay. I can somewhat answer the insurance one because we've just had to pay this year's. Part of it is supply and demand, and there seems to be an ever diminishing pool of organizations that actually want to insure not-for-profits. I guess the jump you saw was us deciding to, stick with the insurer that we knew last year. But actually for this year, through the broker that we use, we've had to switch insurance providers, which has actually dropped the insurance back to, what was it, $13.25. We now have to pay by credit card, not by check. So one of us had to, put it on our credit card and get a reimbursement. So, again, we do those little things to save $1 here and $1 there when we can. So we are certainly cognizant that was a jump. It's scaled back a little bit this year.
Thank you.
And to respond to your question about the interest rate on the GIC, keep in mind your GICs aren't coincident with your fiscal year. So your previous GIC that went from June of get my years wrong, June of 18 to June of 19, that was at around 1.5 or 1.6%, something like that. So you've got 9 months of your fiscal year as high rate, and then once pandemic hit, interest rates went to the floor. So when you renewed, it dropped. You'll see that effect mostly in next fiscal.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody want to say anything about increasing the individual member dues?
Well, I would say, depending on the makeup of the new board, it certainly should be a topic of conversation. And yeah, we play that, how high is enough and how high is going to scare people away. So that's a recurring discussion, I'm sure, amongst all not-for-profits. So Harriet has a comment on that.
Yeah, thanks, David. Yeah, we used to be at 200 or 250, and we had a very small group of very committed people. And I guess I'm the one at fault for dropping. I remember the discussions with Don Young, dropping it to $50 so we could really expand participation, because obviously the planet is on fire, so to speak, and the more people involved, the more we can spread and educate our region. So I'm responsible for that. A lot of us could pay more. I think we would lose some other people that may be occasional users. And, so the trade-off is between revenue and participation. And as David said, the next board should maybe consider that.
All right.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the financial side? Okay, not hearing anything. Oh, Andrew.
Just very quickly, I mean, the reality is, though, that the way Switch generates revenues through institutional corporate memberships, and an increase of X% on the individual members isn't quite as impactful as we'd like it to be, and it really does run the risk that Harriet just mentioned, that it actually diminishes our individual member signups, which, is it worth it? So I would just really explore ramping up institutional and corporate memberships, because that's, in my view, that's where money actually comes from.
And to that, thank you, Andrew. The last year or so since I've been on the board, there have been, breakout board meetings and lots of discussion about what is our value proposition to the large corporate members, so that we can attract more of them to pay those larger membership fees. Every time we think we have a handle on that, there's a curveball, such as COVID. So that is a continuing discussion. I know, or at least up until now, it's been a continuing discussion. Is it going back to conferences? Is it some sort of auditing services? And how would we pay for the infrastructure or personnel to do auditing services? There's some chicken and egg as far as ramping up our offerings that would attract be value to the larger corporate members. So for any corporations on the call that have thoughts on what they would like to see from Switch, we're certainly open to that discussion as well. All right. I think barring anything else, and apologies here, I'm on two different pages of screens. So if someone else has something to say, that you might be on screen too, and I can't see it to flag you to participate. So with that, let's vote to accept the accountant's report and the treasurer's report. Would anybody like?
Also move.
Rosie will move. Do we have anybody who would like to second on that? Pavel, please. Or actually, let's pick Steve, since share the wealth. And this one, do we need to vote on? Ted, I'm gonna. Okay. Can we see a raised hand or a? I'm seeing a pretty unanimous vote of approval there. So thank you very much. So now on to what the meat and potatoes of today, which is the election of the new board members. Ted, have you put?
Yeah, so I've just posted the, I should take over this part of the meeting, David, since
Yes,
you're one of the candidates. So what we will do is I have posted the online link for voting. We're using Google Forms, and it goes into real time into this Google spreadsheet. So I've seen actually several votes already cast. About 10 votes have already been cast, and we have received 4 proxy forms. So let me see if you could, if you want to have another look at the candidates, we'll give everybody a few minutes. I will post again the file, just a second, somewhere. Let's see, here we go. Where's the EGM circular? Here we go. No, it's not the. Wait a minute. Here we go. Yeah, so I'll just post the AGM circular again in case you want to look at the bios of the different candidates.
Yeah.
And you can download that, and I'll give you a chance to.
I think we jumped ahead maybe slightly, because in previous years we let the new members.
Yes, okay.
You're right. Running for election actually have 30 seconds to.
You're right.
Why they would like to be on the board. So
okay.
For those who have actually already voted, hopefully that process won't change their mind.
Sorry. You can always, if you vote twice, I will just cancel out the first one. So Helene, you've already submitted your proxy, I think, but because you were not sure if you could make the meeting. But yeah, sorry, David. That's
all right. Yeah, we got ahead of ourselves.
So let's just go through, and anybody who's here can have 30 seconds and just say hello and tell people while they're ready. So we'll just go through in the order that you're listed in the AGM circular. So is Alan Lucas here?
There's Alan.
Yes, I am, Ted. Hi.
Hey, Alan. Okay,
Hi.
30 seconds or so.
Yeah, 30 seconds out. I was asked to put my name forward, encouraged because of some of the work I'm doing at Utilities Kingston with the biosolids biogas master plan, the environmental aspects of what asked, pretty much everything is related in the water wastewater field to environmental and energy conservation. So I thought I'd like to get more involved with Switch. So that's me.
Thank you, Alan. Next will be
Okay,
Paul.
next we have Paul Mcclatchy.
Thanks, Ted. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. So I think I know almost everybody on this call. I'm Paul Mcclatchy. I work for the City of Kingston. I'm the city's Environment Director. I've been in this role for about 20 years. And like Alan, I've had a lot of experience dealing with a lot of different energy and environmental projects and programs within the City of Kingston. I'm super interested in Alan's work on renewable natural gas right now. I have worked closely with many people on this call and other people from around the city on developing Kingston's climate action plan, and have stayed involved with the development of the new net zero CIP that's coming, and our community retrofit program with Dave and Julie. So certainly, I think it's important that Switch continues its work and expands its membership, mainly to help Kingstonians and Kingston organizations understand what can be done here locally in terms of not just energy conservation, but carbon reduction as well, and how that ties to local economic development.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Thank you, Paul.
Okay, thanks. Next, it's Chiari, Ghoni, Bulama. Hello.
Hello, everyone. I am Chiari. I am professor at RMC. I am doing my teaching, my research in the energy conversion, energy conservation, renewable energy. I have some background in contracting with private sector, including Lafarge. We did the Cement 2020. I have been involved with some local initiatives in Kingston. Before coming to Kingston, I was a researcher at Hydro-Quebec. So the utility aspect, I also know a bit. That's about it for me. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you, Gary. Yeah.
Okay, next we have Spencer Bardell.
Hi.
Spencer,
Hi, so
there he is. Okay.
I'm there. I'm Spencer Bardell, technician at Cameron Kingston and an electric car enthusiast, and that's obviously where I'd like to, what expertise I'd like to bring to the board. I'm on a few electric car associations or councils, and I'm always trying to put bums in electric car seats. That's basically it.
Thank you, Spencer.
Okay, Rosie is next.
Thanks, Ted. So I am a manager for research and innovation services for a large consulting firm. I've been coming to Switch meetings for about 10 years, and the past 3 years, as I mentioned, I've been on the board. We just acquired 2 electric cars last year. We have solar PV and also solar hot water and solar hot air on our house. I would wish to continue supporting Switch and being a place where the discourse of sustainable energy can continue and thrive.
Thank you, Rosie. I see I'm next.
Yes, David. Yeah.
So I've been a Switch member for over a decade, on the board the last 3 years, and as with Rosie, would like to continue to support the mission of the board through that opportunity. I feel like a bit of a Luddite in that I have an electric vehicle, but that's about it compared to all these people with PV everywhere and solar hot water and everything else. But that is what it is. I'm currently the Chief Science Officer for a sustainable chemistry company based in Napanee. Thank you.
Next, Kristen Mullen is. Hi, Kristen's here. Kristen was here. Oh wait, Kristen has to be. I guess Kristen. Sorry, just give Kristen a second. She had to rejoin the meeting. Are you there, Kristen? So many names. Here we go. She's connecting to all audio. Just give her a second because she had to rejoin the meeting. Hi, Kristen.
On mute still?
Yeah, sorry you had.
Hi.
Hi. So it's your turn to talk about why you'd like to join the board and who you are and all that.
Okay, I'm really sorry. I've been trying to connect for the last 45 minutes. I was on for the first part of the meeting and then I got kicked out. So it's just our internet connection's bad. I live in Harrowsmith. So sorry about that, everyone. So I originally wanted to join because I work for Sustainable Kingston and I thought that there was lots of, I had connections and I thought we could really partner and work together. I should disclose that I have since resigned from Sustainable Kingston, but I am moving to an organization called Earth Day Canada. So I still think there's a lot of partnership opportunities and collaboration that can be had there. I love what Switch is doing. Your webinars every month are fantastic and providing a lot of good education to the community. So we just wanted to be a part of all the, of everything that you're providing to our community. So that's why I wanted to join.
Okay, and Tim Seitz, I don't think Tim was able to join us today. So let's move on to the two students. Adam Macpherson, I think Adam is on.
Yes, hi. Thanks for having me. So yes, I'm a third-year electrical engineering student, and I'm just very interested in the energy sector. This past year, I've been involved in planning the Queen's Global Energy Conference. So I was the speakers director, getting speakers, planning the conference and all of that. And I look forward to doing things like this in the future and bringing any expertise from Switch and anything else to Queens. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Okay, and then Jake Milley, the other student candidate.
Hi, morning everyone. So my name is Jake. I'm going to be going into my 5th year of electrical engineering next year. I'm currently on a 16-month work term with PPS as an energy engineering intern. So that would be the same position that the previous student, Eric O'Coin, had, and the one before that, Spencer Kelly. So that's been rewarding for me, but I do want to continue to do other things. Given that I've been a student and an employee at Queen's, as well as a resident of Kingston, I think I'll bring a unique perspective to the board. As well, I'm interested in having a career in the energy sector, so I'm super excited to be able to be a part of Switch next year. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Jake.
Okay, so that's it. So I will repost that link, vote to link, and we'll just give everybody a few minutes. I'm going to vote as well. So why don't we just take a couple minutes and then we'll close the voting, and I'll do the counting, and then during the counting we can just take care of, I'll give the meeting back to David and we can chat a little bit until I make sure I get the results. We've never had an election that's been so widely, with so many seats and so many candidates. So it's a little complicated this year. Yeah, so please take a few minutes to vote.
Can I say something, Ted?
Oh, yes.
Chiari. I think I was a bit short in my bio presentation. It's Chiari.
Oh, yes.
If I could add 5 more seconds.
Sure.
I was going to tell everyone that I'm voting for David and Rosamond.
Okay. And let me just apologize to you again, Carrie, because you sent in your nomination well before the deadline, And then it was lost in the spam, and you sent more emails saying, why isn't my name on the circular? And I didn't get those either because those are in the spam, and we just didn't check the spam filter. So
it must be something.
Very sorry for what happened.
An RMC handle or something. I don't know.
Don't know. Anyways. Okay,
Anyway,
so let's just take a few minutes to vote. I'm going to vote as well. Oh, and let me just post the link one more time to make it easier. Okay.
David, can I say something?
Certainly.
I was just going to say it's an amazing slate of candidates and makes it very difficult to choose. And historically with Switch, we've had boom or bust, and we got a boom year. And I would say to those that may not win a seat on the board to stay in there, because it every year we have new seats available. So please don't be discouraged, subject to the outcome of today. We want all of you on the board at some point in time.
Yeah. To that, just a little background on the board structure. In addition to the student term, which is only 1 year, the remaining board members are 3-year terms split between government, private, and what's the third one? Institutional and academic. But we stagger the terms of the board members, so it's not everybody every year. This year, has been a fairly high turnover, but there is turnover every year, potentially as people do a 3-year term and decide for whatever reasons whether they want to try and continue or to move on to other things or just go back to being a regular member, having contributed that extra mile for 3 years. So to Harriet's comment that there's always opportunity to be on the board moving forward. And as we look at reinvigorating our options for things like conferences or doing special events, even maybe not conference size things, there is always need for willing and able people to do the extra lifting for those special events to help the board out on that. So it is a community, and the board appreciates all the support that we can get on that. And Ted, how are we doing on the votes?
So I just got we got a couple more votes, and I can start. I'm going to start counting, and maybe you can do like sector news or other motions.
Okay.
So I just need to count.
David?
Hello, yes. Oh, hello, Tatiana.
David. I just wanted to give the membership from my perspective from admin, since I've had the privilege of working with this board of directors. I just wanted to share with the membership at large. I've worked with so many different boards, and this is the most professional, efficient, and impressive board of directors I've ever had the privilege to serve under. So just a giant thank you from administration for looking out for me during COVID and keeping everything running. It's been a real honor. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Tatiana. We much appreciate your efforts as well. Tatiana has, she doesn't just sort of manage some of the back end as far as the website and stuff. She is an active recruiter of new corporate sponsors and has done well by the broader Switch community this last year. So I suppose, yeah, going hello.
Sorry, and also Harriet and I had an update to the regional working group whenever we could do it as part of sector news or as its own.
I was just thinking we could go through and do some sector news. I don't have the script in front of me, so if I'm forgetting something, but I always start with electric vehicles because that one's always top of mind for a lot of people. And Spencer is wanting to speak.
Hi. There's a really interesting thing that I think ties into Switch and most of the people here. It's called the Arrow Project. It was to create an electric vehicle prototype, and it was by the Automotive Parts Manufacturing Association of Canada. So there's a lot of Ontario universities, Carleton University did the prototype concept design, and it's to showcase Canada's ability to manufacture and supply parts, which if anybody knows anything about electric cars, supply is the major delaying factor in getting cars out there. And there's webinars out there and a lot of information, and it's really interesting. And I also like the fact that it's called the Arrow, sort of a little throwback to the Avro Arrow and a little dig at Diefenbaker and conservatives and so forth.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Those of us from that generation, yes. And anything else on electric vehicles? How about we move on to wind?
Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry,
Oh.
David. I just was late in unmuting myself. I don't know if this is of any use whatsoever. I'm trying to show you an article recently, Saturday, January 23, the New York Times, the business section, page 1. There is an article about electric vehicles, and what I'm trying to do, I don't know how to do this. I'm just trying to show this page. The graphic here is showing the total cost of ownership.
Want to hold it up a little higher?
Higher, okay. Is that
perfect.
okay? That's perfect. Great. I'll just hold it. The total cost of ownership of different classes of vehicles, and the pale gray section at the top is conventional gasoline vehicles, from which covers, of course, a great range of cost of ownership. But the orange section at the very bottom covers the entire range of electric vehicles, showing that the most expensive of them.
Helen, you want to move it up a little bit again?
Up again. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, showing that the most expensive of them come in at about the middle of the range of the cost of ownership of gasoline vehicles. And I found this graphic, it just knocked my socks off when I picked it up that morning. And I'd be happy to give the reference if anybody wants to look up this article and actually read it. But anyway, just if you can see this graphic, I was so impressed by this data.
Yeah.
The other categories, the red in the middle are hybrid and plug-in electric vehicles, and the blue is diesel, just in case it's not legible. Okay, I've said enough. If anybody wants this reference, I'm happy to give it to you. Thanks.
Thank you, Helen. I actually did read that article, and that speaks to, I guess, one of the main issues as we transition in whatever sector we want to talk about is the capital cost versus operating cost. And I know, for 2 years now, I've gone back and forth to Napanee in my electric vehicle, and thank goodness, because, it would have broke the bank probably if I'd been driving an ICE. So it's a huge savings on operating costs.
If I could pipe up on that score, you can go to carboncounter.com and get, I think, that graph or one very similar. And one of the surprising takeaways is that some plug-in hybrid vehicles do as well or better than some electric vehicles.
Yeah, just go show devil's in the details, as always.
Yes.
Anything else on that. Let's go to wind. Anything there? I'm not seeing anything. Anything on solar PV?
Oh, always. Let me put my other hat on.
Okay.
I'll just put on my Otter Energy hat for a second, not my admin one, and switch caps. Otter Energy is, first I'll update you, I guess, on repowering. That doesn't seem to be much of an issue for any of the large businesses that have been repowering, including other hydro and long distance carrier companies are now looking into repowering their systems. ISO hasn't responded with any legal action, just kind of angry letters that are all generic. They've not responded on anything for microfit, for any microfits that have been repowered and up. Again, 0% financing being available, power purchase agreements, and net metering is also, you know, financially pretty exciting. I've never been so busy. I wish everyone in solar the best of luck. That's my solar update for now.
All right, thank you very much. Anybody else on the solar side? And apologies as I'm working to put the link. Chad had asked for the link to that New York Times article, and there it is. So we've got that taken care of. Anything on geothermal? Trying to think what else. Conservation in general.
I would like to mention that there is a webinar series Monday evenings hosted by 350 Kingston. And we've had terrific success so far. We've had 120, 140 people both evenings. And next week, we're having Dr. Myra Hurd. And the topic is waste, recycling, and climate change.
Yes. A very interesting series. Lots of the Brain Trust from Queens participating in that. So it's good to see, you know, as we always need to tap into the expertise that's in the community. So that's marvelous.
I should warn you, it's not good news.
Well,
I need a little bit more time to count because the fourth spot is there's only one vote separating. So I just got to make sure about that.
Okay.
So
thank you.
You could just keep talking.
I will soft shoot some more and keep this going. Yeah, to Pavel's comment, I'd say everybody around the table knows, you know, what we're going into. So for the students on the call, we're trying our darndest here, us older generations. So and glad you're on board to know that there's a problem and that we've got to move a whole lot faster. So one of the things, maybe I'll just in the conservation sort of education / area, you know, one of the things in this Trillium Fund that we were looking at was some getting in some expertise to tell the board or point out to the board where sustainability may be going in the next 5 years. You know, things have changed a lot with COVID, and you know, maybe the trajectory we were on a year ago isn't the trajectory going forward, and getting some, you know, thoughts on that so that we in this can pivot to be proactive instead of reactive was part of what we pitched to the Trillium Fund. So it will be interesting to see if we get the money, when we get the money, how that rolls out. But you know, we are trying very much to be proactive in addressing what's coming at us, not just what's been. So on that. Anything else on conservation? Alan, then Darko will get to you after Alan, sorry.
Yeah, so I just wanted to jump in here. One of the is that we may want to start putting a little more focus on is alternate energy sources. One being the renewable natural gas, which is a really hot topic across the country, and that I'm intimately involved with, and Paul Mcclatchy is as well. I'm going to drag him in kicking and screaming to what we're doing. But beyond that is the hydrogen fuel, the fuel of the future, has been said for 15, 20 years now. The hydrogen is one which is really an interesting option and opportunity for Kingston. And so we also, I think, can use these alternate fuels as a transition away from the heavy carbon. What a lot of things we tend to forget is we can't simply all switch to electric vehicles overnight. We can't all, turn off using natural gas or whatever. And so this transition and switch can play a really key role locally in helping better understand how natural gas may be a transition fuel from diesel, from gasoline, to a cleaner future of hydrogen. So it will be something interesting, and that's part of why my interest. So thanks very much.
I have something to say about that. Can you hear me, David?
Yes, sorry, I think you're maybe on my other screen. We will get Darko in. Sorry, and who is it?
I'm Carol McKay.
Oh, hello, Carol. Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Darko.
No, I thought you better because I have a different topic. So.
Okay, mine is specifically on, my comments are specifically related to hydrogen, David. I am the one that gave you all those articles showing that there was a renewed interest. And there are two items which I'm not sure all of you know. First of all, Canada now has a national hydrogen policy. It was produced by NRC December the 16th. And you can easily access it, but it's a futuristic look, but definitely suggesting we're switching, like Germany and Japan and a number of other countries, toward a hydrogen-based economy away from the fossil fuels. It was published December 16th, National Research Council. All you have to do is Google it. The second is, I think, most of you know that in 2017, 11 oil companies, not any North American ones, formed the World Hydrogen Council. And then 2 days ago, a number of the hydrogen people in the States, it's I think probably triggered by Bloom, formed something called the Hydrogen Union. This was, it came out February 2nd. And I personally think that definitely we are going to become a hydrogen-based world. And the only reason that New York Times shows that electric cars are so much less expensive is the law of supply and demand. The reason hydrogen hasn't never taken off is the hydrogen's expensive. And the reason it's expensive is because not everybody's using it. Yeah. And I firmly believe that we are going to become a major hydrogen producer. Okay, that's all.
Thank you very much. Certainly hydrogen was a hot topic at the Smart Energy Kingston last week. And I know there's sort of a sub-board working group looking to help with that. Well, we've got lots of hands raised now. Darko, let's get you in because I know you've been waiting patiently.
I will. I just wanted to share with you, there's a new initiative by NSERC about sustainable cement production that is starting now with the aim at reducing carbon footprint of cement industry by 30% in 2030 and becoming net zero by 2050, which is quite amazing given that cement is both necessary and a big source of carbon emissions, both in terms of producing it and in terms of fuel used to fire the production. So I'll be part of it and I'll report as things progress.
Perfect. Okay, Ted, how about we hear what Ted has to say, and then we can come back and
Yeah.
Have some more
Yeah,
discussion.
and I'll keep the Zoom meeting going till 10, but I should announce. So yeah, the reason I took so long is actually there's like 3 votes separating the 4 people for one of the last spots. So it's just very I had to check really carefully. But thank you everybody who submitted their names for nomination. And I'll start with the student seat has been, it will be filled by Adam Macpherson. And the 4 other board seats will be filled by Paul Mcclatchy, Rosamund Hyde, David Heineman, and Chiari Ghoni Bulama.
Oh, very good.
And as I say, it was very close there, and it took a bit of time. So there were a lot of people with a lot of support. And I think that just shows the high quality of candidates that we had for the board seats. And I'm very appreciative of that.
Well, as I am still on the board, I will thank everybody who ran. I welcome the new members aboard. Next steps on that front, I will send out a, we typically have board meetings the 2 weeks in between on a Friday morning, 2 weeks after the open meeting. So we'll work to set that up. We might even have maybe a mini meeting earlier, just so that with no agenda other than let people maybe get a little more familiar with each other, and also decide who's going to be president, vice president, and all those roles, because that needs to happen fairly soon. So to that, thank you. I guess we do need, and I know Ted had included the engagement of the accountants and the confirmation of the proceedings. Ted, was there any surprises there?
So that's right. We need a motion to, actually there's I guess there's a motion to approve the election of the directors. So let me do this. If I could have a motion to approve the election of the directors. Harriet, do I have a seconder?
Helen?
I see Andrew.
Okay, yeah.
And any discussion? If not, can I have a show of hands for people who are in favor? Okay, that looks like, to me, it's carried. And then, yeah, then we need 2 motions. One is the motion to continue to engage Secker, Ross, and Perry to do
Ted, that was in the voting.
Oh, that was in the voting. Yes, sorry. And yeah, it's yes, I can confirm that it's overwhelmingly for to approve Secker, Ross, Perry.
Good. So if Adam is still on the call, thank you again for your help over the last year.
And I'll just say it was not, sorry, it was not unanimous, but overwhelmingly for. And then to confirm the proceedings of the board of directors, again, it passed not unanimously, but for. Yes, those 2 passed.
Okay, so let me get to the end. So with that, we can close down the formal portion, but I know there's a number of people that want to talk. Pavel, is it sector news, or is it something related to the proceedings?
Sector news.
Okay, so with that, I would like to formally close this year's AGM. We very much appreciate the support of everybody, both over the year and by showing up today, braving the weather, as it were. So we look forward to welcoming the new board members in, and we will certainly be reporting back to the membership on large on the things that we are planning. We have a few speakers already lined up in the docket moving forward. We're always open to new suggestions on that. And with that, I will
Move to adjourn.
yeah. Sorry, yes, Helen?
I move to adjourn.
Move to close, thank you. And Andrew, I saw as a second. So thank you all. This year's AGM is formally closed.
I
And
vote to adjourn the meeting.
vote to adjourn, okay. And so those who want to leave, please do. Ted, can you stay on?
Yep, I will stay on and keep the Zoom meeting going so we can keep talking.
Okay. I have a half-hour drive to get to work, so I really do need to run. Thank you to everybody. Harriet, you and I will connect on doing a transfer of goods.
Dave, watch out. The 401's got all kinds of closures and slowdowns.
So I hear. I typically use Highway 2, so I'll take it slow.
Take care.
So
All right.
can I just say that the Queen's engagement group is meeting next week? So if anyone's interested in that process, because it's a it's a citywide engagement working group with RMC and St. Lawrence as well involved, and a couple city councilors. So if you are interested in the proceedings or perhaps even attending, please do let me know, because I'm co-chair of it, and it's pretty important work. There's some really exciting discussions happening, so hopefully they lead somewhere.
Howard, can you is there a link to a website with information we can distribute it to the members?
I can find it in a second. I'll post it in the chat. But I also wanted to say, I like, as an outgoing board member, I just wanted to say like one word, that now is a really interesting time with the I think it's really important work that Switch does to also push back against these sort of overly business as usual type suggestions with carbon offsetting and things like that, and the fact, because these are we don't even have physically enough land to do carbon offsetting for all the emissions that we need to mitigate. So this work of pushing forward, technologies and community-based solutions and just rethinking problems entirely is really important. And I've been proud to be part of it for 3 years, and I wish the new board the best of luck.
Thank you very much, Pavel. As I said, I need to depart, but Ted's leaving the platform open, and I will be in touch with the new board members to set up our first board meeting. Thank you again, all.
Thanks,
Bye
Dave.
for now.
Hi. Carol, McKay, Alan, Lucas, if you could stay on just quickly. Harriet and I don't know, and this is for everyone, sorry, but we had tried to integrate a regional working committee last year, and this was before COVID, and then COVID hit and physical meetings and such weren't possible. So we're still staying in the framework of that idea, like how to split